been wanting to do this video for a while, and I'm finally ready to give it some light. You ever notice how AAA studios are prioritizing useless things like diversity over gameplay? You know? All while indie games have never been better with theirs. I have felt this way ever since the year 2019 and the games that year crapped out. That was the tipper for me, but let's not make this intro too long. Let's get into this. Ready yourselves. The main crux of the AAA issue is that many publishers want to strangle and grab a hold of every trend until it dies, like a leech sucking on a freaking body or something. Gaming or otherwise. And it's been this way for a long while. I can remember it starting to kick me in the face with the realization around Black Ops 4. By the time Modern Warfare 2019's bundle system ran around, I was practically drowning in that realization. Series like COD are never going to get better unless Activision and all the other publishers like them are pulled away from the series, like the leeches that they are. Other examples being Take-Two and Rockstar with GTA and Red Dead Redemption, Gearbox with Borderlands, mainly Borderlands 3. And another thing about the whole prioritizing diversity and visuals over gameplay, this game, Borderlands 3, it's actually pretty decent. You know, gameplay wise. I like the shooting parts of it, but the story of this game is absolute garbage. I mean, it is a complete and utter dumpster fire. Whoever was the writer for this game needs to get canned immediately. Like, oh my gosh. The amount of plot holes and contrivances that you will find in your basic analysis video will fill an entire hour. Like, it's that bad. I haven't played the DLC, so I can't comment on that, however. I'll just list off a couple of points for the main story that I despised. Not gonna go into too heavy of spoiler territory. First, the lack of Tiny Tina, Brick, and Mordecai. You literally play like a couple missions with them, and that's it. That's literally it. Why? Those three are probably my favorite characters in the whole friggin' series, and yet they're wasted. And then the biggest one, Ava. Enough said on her. Like I said, not going to go into too heavy spoiler territory. But other than that, let us get into the indie circuit and how they steal the show. I started playing more and more indie titles ever since Cuphead came out. I loved that game. It had a great balance of gameplay and visuals. Yeah, the visuals took a long time, but they didn't overlook the platforming and boss fights. They didn't let those go to crap while they worked over the fine cartoon details. They being Studio MDHR. Those guys are a great studio. They put their heart into every little detail of the world and the combat. Another game that doesn't really innovate, but stays simple and clean with its gameplay, is Super Meat Boy. This game was great when I first played it. It was a marvelous platformer. It was difficult as well. Very, very difficult. Especially for someone who doesn't play platformers all that often, it definitely gave me a challenge. But I got through the main part of it. I still haven't completed it yet. That just adds more and more difficulty to the mix. And then another game that I've started playing as well, that you're seeing on screen, Splitgate. This game, I feel like, rubs every other AAA shooter right now in the face and gets away with it. Because this game feels like it just feels fresh. How would I describe Splitgate? Basically, Halo with portals. Yeah, Halo on a PlayStation game with portals. Then again, I would argue the maps aren't as good as Halo's, but still, the heart and soul is there. You know, you can get the feeling that this game was heavily inspired. It's still good though on its own merit. Like, it's still very good on its own merit. Like, these portals add a lot of different gameplay variety and tactics to what would be quite a normal first-person shooter, honestly. And that's what I mean about different games like this, like indie games. They can still feel fresh while adding just a little bit of tweaks here and there. You know, they just feel fresh. And they stay fresh because they add little tweaks and little changes here and there. But they keep the basics, the fundamentals, the same and simple, no matter what. That's what I respect about these games. They don't go overboard with anything. They stick what they stick with, and they do it well. Side note, I am not saying that every indie game is sliced bread levels of good, and neither am I saying every AAA title is shackled to chains of publisher hell. Each side has its problems, and maybe not, they'll be resolved in time. We don't know. In conclusion, gaming has been through a lot in its years. Ever since the 70s, arguably 80s and 90s, it's blossomed into something pretty friggin' awesome. But it's also been through a lot in its travels. And I've seen some of it firsthand. In all honesty, if you take anything away from this video, I want it to be hope. Hope in the good side of these devs and publishers that maybe something will change. Maybe something will appear and it will change their ways. All that we can really hope for, though, is that these scummy publishers and developers, they get what they deserve. It's really all we can hope for. In the long run, I mean. But anyway, that's the end of this. If you enjoyed, please feel free to hit that like and subscribe button. Those two on there on screen. Preferably not in that order, but anyway, stay honorable. Sayonara, guys!